Hello, sewing friends. My name is Ramona. Thank you for visiting the TurboPurr channel today. Today, I'll be showing you my approach to free motion quilting using a gripper ring and a stitch regulator. Free motion is fun and easy. It does take a little bit of practice though. These are the supplies that I use. In this demonstration, I am using a Martelli brand of gripper ring, and these rings are fairly heavy and substantial, which is good because they hold the fabric down very well. They come in an 8-inch size and an 11-inch size. I usually use the 8-inch size. I find that I'm usually working on smaller areas and that size works out better for me. Um, there are also other brands of gripper rings that I have used, and the Martelli, are the best that I personally have used. Here is the step-by-step setup. Feed dogs are not used during free motion quilting, and I suggest that you consult your machine's instruction manual on how to set up your machine for free motion and follow the instructions that are given for your machine brand. I'm using a stitch regulator, which is an attachment, or in some models it's built into the machine itself, that keeps the stitches of an even length during free motion. This is not necessary to use when you're free motion quilting. You can certainly do free motion quilting without a stitch regulator, and many people do. It's just that using the stitch regulator, if you have it, ensures that all your stitches are basically the same length. Be sure to practice with fabric scrap and batting. You can put together a quilt sandwich out of scrap materials to get a feel for how this process works. And at the beginning, as with all quilting, you'll be bringing your bobbin thread up to the top so that you will not have a thread nest on the bottom of it. And at the finish, you can take your loose thread ends and put them through a hand sewing needle and stitch them into the batting layer in order to hide the loose ends. This is optional. On my machine, I have my stitch length set at 2.5 millimeters. With the machine and stitch regulator setup that I have, if I am going too fast and the machine can't keep up with me, I will get a beeping warning noise. And I found out through just my experimentation that the 2.5 millimeter length of stitch is comfortable for me to use, and I'm not exceeding the machine's speed limit when I do that. So it's important not to go too short on your stitch length. Experiment with it, and when you're practicing, you can adjust your stitch length. If you find out that if getting a beeping warning noise that you're exceeding the speed limit, then you can certainly try lengthening your stitch a bit and see whether that helps. On my machine setup, I have on the straight stitch a foot plate and the stitch regulator for my machine, and I have a full bobbin. This is the Martelli gripper ring that I use in the 8-inch size, and mine is red, but they also do come in black. The reason mine is red is because I purchased it from my local machine dealer, and they had the red ones, which I like. Uh, as I mentioned, they are a little bit substantial, so they have a little bit of weight to them, which is really good because they hold the fabric sandwich or the quilt sandwich down firmly, and they're easy to control. This is the bottom side of the gripper ring, and you'll notice that it has a non-slip material around the bottom, which helps to grip the fabric. Also notice that there is the opening in the gripper ring, and that is so that you can slip the gripper ring around the presser foot. And also with these gripper rings, sometimes if I'm using a free motion foot that is a little bit wider, I can pull on the gripper ring a little bit to separate and make that opening just a little bit bigger to get it to slip around the presser foot. I've used also just plastic gripper rings from a different brand that are not this heavy and substantial, and those have quite a bit more flex to them. These gripper rings still have a little bit of flex to them, so in situations where I want to make the fabric underneath this ring a little more taut, maybe pull out, spread it apart just a little bit, I can do that while I'm doing the free motion by pulling gently on the gripper rings on the sides of the gripper ring, to expand it just a little bit to make the fabric a little bit more taut when I need to. So these rings really allow you to control the fabric well when you're doing free motion. And here is a picture of my setup with the gripper ring. I like to use an add-on magnifier. This is an optional attachment for my machine that I purchased from the sewing machine dealership, and when I want to use it, I flip it down. You can see the position it's in now, and then when I want to get it out of the way, it just flips right back up. So if you have any kind of vision issues, or if you just like to have some magnification, this is a nice option for many machines. Most of the machine brands offer magnifiers as an optional accessory. And in this example, I am showing you a close-up of the stitch regulator attachment. You can see that the gripper ring has been placed already on the fabric. You can see that in the background, and I have brought the bobbin thread to the top of the fabric by pushing the needle down and up button to bring that to the top. I take a pair of tweezers and grab that end of the bobbin thread and then pull it several inches and hold it and the top thread out of the way for the first few stitches while I'm doing the free motion. And I hold those two threads on top of the gripper ring while I'm doing it with my hands well out of the way of the needle, um, and hold on to those two threads just to keep everything neat on the top. If you don't have a needle up down button on the machine, you can rotate the hand wheel a turn until you can bring the fabric or the bobbin thread up to the top. This avoids having a thread nest on the bottom of your quilt sandwich. And with using a gripper ring, it moves kind of like a rook or what's a castle in chess. So the movement is from side to side and up and down. It is not a steering wheel. You do not make turns with it. If you try to turn the gripper ring, you have a high likelihood of breaking needles, and we don't want that. So the motion is from side to side and up and down, or forward and back and side to side. And the gripper ring stays in this position that you see while you are using it at the machine. And you'll see that a little more in the demonstration. Notice that the nice little grips that are on this are handy to have, and it keeps your hands safe and away from the needle. And notice that when you need to go to a different section of the fabric, you simply lift the gripper ring and place it where you need it. And notice that the gripper ring is not turned. The gripper ring stays in the same orientation. And when you just need to move it, you lift it up and you move it to a new position. Free motion is relaxing and fun. I find that it's really easy to do a quilt sandwich this way, particularly with a stitch regulator. It does take a little bit of practice, but I think that it's easy, and just keep plenty of full bobbins handy and a good bit of thread, because when you're doing a large quilt like this, you'll go through quite a bit of thread and bobbins. But it's relaxing, it's fun, and it's pretty easy. This is my sewing companion, Miss Boo. She and I thank you for watching, and happy stitching.